Why, thank you, Zap. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you today. For those of you who don't know me, I've been an advisor at the EC for almost 2 years now, which can't believe it's been almost 2 years, but my, how the time has flown. Um, the EC is pretty much my favorite place in all of Nashville, as I'm sure it is. I hope it is for a lot of you too. And for good reason. I've just met some of the most incredible entrepreneurs and marketers I've ever met there. So as an advisor, I've had just the time of my life being able to work with so many inspirational people, and very grateful to have the opportunity to be with even more inspirational people here today. So my background is in startups, really. I have been in and out of startups, whether that's running my own or helping one grow or helping one get out of a plateau or one thing or another for almost 10 years now. I got my start in music, like I'm sure a lot of you probably did too, because it's Nashville and that's what we do. Very quickly learned I could not move as fast as I wanted to in music. So I found my way to a tech startup, and the rest is history. So I run a organic marketing team at a local advertising agency here. And then you see here on the screen, Crafted Local Marketing is my own business. I am in the process of launching a new arm of this business in December. So hopefully I'll have more info to y'all for that in a couple months. But Crafted Local is a growth marketing agency, and we help specifically small businesses grow their business. I don't think that marketing is something that should be exclusive to just marketers. So hopefully what we go through today will help empower you to take some marketing into your own hands and help grow your business yourself. So we're going to go through, hopefully, if we have the time. I have a clock in front of me, so I'm going to keep an eye on it, but and I'm a talker, so we'll see how this goes. But we're going to go through 5 strategies today. These are some of my go-to strategies that I use, especially with early age startups when we don't have a lot of marketing budget to work with, or when we just have, or when I have a client who doesn't want to spend a lot of money, which I think is pretty much all my clients. So we're going to go through some growth marketing strategies, but before we get started, I want to talk about the difference between marketing and growth marketing. You've probably heard the term growth marketing a lot, especially over the past year. It's a super buzzy word right now, but it's not the same thing as just traditional marketing, and here's why. Traditional marketing is kind of like a sole focus on just selling and marketing your products or your services, acquiring customers, generating revenue. Growth marketing takes it one step further, and we're going to look at operations and how your marketing fits into the rest of your business. Because you can generate as much revenue in the world, but if your operations aren't scaling with it, you're not going to make that much money and your growth is going to be stunted. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk through, hopefully we'll get through all 5 strategies. We'll talk through those, and then after we talk through what the strategy means and those tactics, we're going to flip it and say, okay, how can we turn this into growth marketing and figure out how to loop that into the operations of your business. So let's get started. And I apologize if you hear my cats whining. Work from home life is, I'm sure all of you are facing that too right now. So strategy number 1, partnerships. This has been one of my most consistent strategies over the past decade. It never fails. It's never gotten old. It's truly an evergreen and very scalable strategy. And one of the greatest things about this is that it's super affordable. You don't really need to invest a lot of money into this to make it work. So a partnership, just for those of you who are kind of new to the concept, is when you're working with another business to tap into their audience and add some of their audience members to your own audience and help grow your business that way. So why do we want to build partnerships? Number 1, exactly that. It's going to help expand your audience. So you can get people into your funnel faster. And an important thing to note about partnerships is that partnerships are often very focused on brand awareness, and that's okay. It's going to depend on your industry. but that's okay. A lot of people think brand awareness is kind of just that. Either people are just more people walking around in the world know who you are. But you want to think about it as every person who knows who you are is in your funnel in some way. So if you don't have like a visualization of your funnel, I highly encourage you to put that together, do it today. It'll help you immensely. And the very, very, very tippy top of your funnel should be brand awareness. The more people who know about you, the more people you're going to be able to move through that funnel eventually and convert them and get them to buy your products, take on your services, whatever you do. This is a more affordable way to do it than traditional customer acquisition methods. So some of those traditional methods include PPC or Facebook advertising or something like that. But here's the thing. You also get increased relevance with this, which is super cool. So by partnering with another company who already has an established audience, especially when that audience is similar to yours, which we're going to talk about in just a second, it kind of makes you like cool by association. That's how I like to think of it. People are always more likely to trust the recommendation of a friend or another business that they already trust than your own marketing or advertising. People are smarter these days. They don't consume media in the same way. So this is a really smart and fast way to get more people into your funnel. So it's basically another brand vouching for you to add more equity to what you do. And my favorite thing about this, and I can very much speak to the testament to this, is that it's truly scalable and evergreen. This strategy does not get old. I've been doing it for literally 10 years. I've probably done thousands of partnerships at this point. And one of my favorite examples of this is a meal prep company that I was a part of building. We truly built almost the first year of our business, we built almost our entire customer base just off of partnerships with local gyms, local offices, influencers all around Nashville who vouched for us, and we got loads and loads of customers from them, and we didn't have to spend a dime on it. So it is truly very scalable. You can do partnership after partnership after partnership. It's not going to get old, and it's evergreen. You can do it any time of year, although I have found it works best around the holidays because people are already looking for giveaways and stuff like that. So the key ingredients to a really great partnership. Number one, and this is super important, so if you take away anything, take away this note, you need to have a shared audience with your partner. It's not enough just to go to your friend's business and say, hey, can we partner together? Can we do some sort of email or a social post? If they don't have the same audience as you, like the similar demographics, it's really not going to be that beneficial for you. So this is really important. Just focus on key demographics at first. Focus on age, gender, income, education, race, that kind of thing. And when you have a potential partner who has those shared things, that's fantastic. You can move on to the next steps. Number two, and this is more important in 2020 than ever, I have found this to be building partnerships this year. I have taken probably double, if not triple, the time to do this step than I ever have before. You want to make sure that you have the same similar values with your partner. And this is not just similar values to the business itself, but to the people you're going to be working with, especially if it's another small business. When it comes to a small business, the founders, the CEOs, the people who work there are often the face of the business. And if they're sharing information online, or they have a certain reputation that maybe you don't agree with, and you're associating your brand with that, you can't undo it. So think about brands in the past year who have had some PR issues, who have made some missteps, especially socially, that that's what you remember. So don't be associated with it. Do your homework, look up the people you're going to be working with, do a little social media stalking. Just make sure that they're either neutral or they're aligned with what you believe in as well and what your audience is going to believe in. Shared vision. This is really important too. This is especially for a partnership where you're working in tandem with somebody else. You want to make sure that you both are on the same page about what you expect the campaign outcome to be. If you expect one thing and your partner expects the other, and you get to the end of the campaign and you got what you want, but they didn't get what they want, it's not going to be scalable because you're not going to be able to do it again because they're just not going to be happy. They don't think they got anything out of it. So when you're pitching a partnership to somebody, make an assumption, assume what you think they're going to find to be really valuable, and write that out for them. Tell them this is what you can expect to get out of working with me. And so make sure you're on the same page about that. If not, it may not work out very well for you in the future. The last thing here, and this is truly the key to any partnership, you need to have mutually beneficial ROI. You need to get something out of it, they need to get something out of it. Otherwise, you're kind of just using them and using them for free, and nobody likes to be used, right? So otherwise, you should just pay for a sponsorship. A partnership is basically like a sponsorship. You don't have to pay for it, and the other person gets something out of it too. Okay, so how do we turn this into growth marketing? And I'm going to preface this by saying you're going to notice a pattern as we talk through all these strategies today. Growth marketing is founded on certain pillars, and these are pretty much those pillars. So the first thing here is to measure it. Growth marketing really relies on data. It's all about performance. It's about making educated decisions instead of guesses. So you want to pick the metrics that are going to determine whether your campaign was successful or not. If your campaign is truly for brand awareness, that's great. Pick a metric that's going to help you figure that out. Impressions, traffic, engagement on a social post, whatever your medium is that you're using, figure out what metrics you have available to you in that sense, and then figure out which ones align with what you're looking for. And don't forget to measure your time too. This is something that is often overlooked in marketing, especially in a startup. When we don't have a lot of money to work with, it's very easy to just bury ourselves in our work and work 24/7, and we never see the light of day, and we're just running partnerships and email campaigns and as many things as we can think of. But you're not in that mindset of growth marketing if you're not measuring it. So your time equals money. So if you are not measuring your time, if you're spending 3 weeks on something that you're going to get one customer from, and that customer is only going to have a value to you of like $30, is that worth that time that you spent on it? So think about that. And if you feel yourself spending too much time on something, stop yourself. Don't keep going. This is key to growth marketing. Don't keep going. Stop and say, can I do this smarter? Work smarter and not harder. Now, the second thing here is to track it. This is very different than measure it. By track it, I mean you want to have a system in place to track your leads. It doesn't matter what industry you're in or what kind of business you have. We're all selling to somebody. So you want to track where those people come from. I recommend using things like UTM parameters or a tracking ID, and also have it connected to your lead management system. If you don't have a lead management system, I would also add that to your list of things to look into today. It will do you very, very well. It'll save you money. It'll help you work smarter instead of harder. If you don't want to invest in a very expensive lead management system, which I don't recommend you do in the beginning, look into something like HubSpot. If you know me, you know I'm like one of the biggest advocates for HubSpot ever, and I don't get anything from HubSpot. I just love them a lot and think they're wonderful. I've used HubSpot in countless different businesses now, and it's helped my business work smarter instead of harder. HubSpot has a really fantastic system where you can track where folks are coming from and track their entire life cycle, their entire journey with you through their CRM. So if you're not using it, look it up. I know the EC at one point had a partnership with HubSpot. I don't know if that's still true. I'm sure Zach can help you figure that out, but I highly recommend it. And they also have a great discount package for startups. Last thing here, scale it. And this is where growth marketing really comes to head. So you want to have a plan on how you can capitalize on the result of your campaign. And because partnerships in particular are really focused pretty much on brand awareness, you want to figure out how you're going to, get people from that tippy top of your funnel and keep moving them down. Whether that's a drip marketing program, like an email nurturing sequence, or a time-sensitive coupon where you can track if somebody uses it or not. Any questions before we move on to the next one?
Can I get the name of that group again that you were just mentioning?
HubSpot.
HubSpot, okay.
Yes. HubSpot's awesome. HubSpot.com. Again, I don't get anything from them. I'm not like an affiliate or anything. I just have, they're my favorite software company in the world. They have a package specifically for startups where I'm pretty sure you get like a 90% discount or something like that. But their CRM is free. So worth using and getting started with. And they also have some really amazing courses you can take that are also free once you sign up. I think most of them are anyway, and can walk you through some of these strategies in more detail. Great question.
Is HubSpot the only lead management system you recommend? Because I know that HubSpot can be quite expensive.
HubSpot can get quite expensive. It really depends on how many contacts you have and at what scale you want to use it. It really depends. It depends on the stage of your business. For startups, HubSpot's pretty much the only one I would recommend. But there are loads and loads of CRMs out there that can help you with that. The reason I like HubSpot, just to go into it a little more in detail, HubSpot is like a full service marketing platform. It's not just a CRM. It has sales automation, email marketing. So chances are you can invest into HubSpot and get rid of some of the other tools that you're using, and then you can have everything all in one place. But Cheryl, I can send you some other recommendations afterwards as well and see what some of my colleagues are using.
Okay, so are you saying HubSpot is falling underneath your lead management system?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question.
I had a quick follow-up question about the pros and cons of starting with HubSpot versus another email service provider such as MailChimp.
Yeah, that's a good question. I do use MailChimp. The difference really is that MailChimp is just what it is. It's just a marketing automation platform or an email marketing platform, where HubSpot is full service. So I'm pretty sure MailChimp integrates with HubSpot, but I like to have my tech stack all in one place if I can. So HubSpot has an entire email marketing platform within the platform itself. So you can do every single thing that you do with MailChimp, you can do it with HubSpot too, and it's included in the platform.
Yeah, thanks. I knew it was more advanced. I had just gotten a couple of recommendations from other people to not initially start out with HubSpot. So I appreciate your perspective.
And I'll tell you, and I'm going to move on here in a second, guys, but I'll tell you, I think one of the cons to it is just that it's a beast, you know. It's very intuitive, it's very user friendly, but it is a lot to set up. But once you get it set up, it's just maintenance, you know. And to me, it's worth it to use something that has everything all in one place than trying to use Zapier and try to figure out how to connect all of the various platforms that I'm using. But again, just my personal preference. Everyone's business is going to be different, so you really gotta decide what's best for you. So moving on to strategy number 2, reviews, and we're going to try to go through this one just a little quickly. Why do we want to generate reviews? We want to generate reviews for several reasons. First and foremost, it's validation. How many times in the past, think about it, in the past year, or maybe in the past 2 years, since it's been kind of a weird year, but in the past 2 years, when you've gone on to Google reviews or Yelp or Facebook or something of the sort to make a decision about what restaurant to go to or what plumber to use or something like that. Reviews are really, really powerful, but not just because it provides validation. It also is going to help your SEO. And SEO, for those of you who don't know, stands for search engine optimization. And we're going to go a little into depth with SEO in just a little bit too. But whether you're a local business or a global business, SEO is very, very important. And from my experience, one of the top overlooked things with startups. But SEO matters. It's going to play an invaluable role in giving you a leg up against your competitors. It's really intentional traffic, and we're going to talk more about this, but SEO is very, very important, and reviews play a really crucial role in this. So reviews have become man, so much more important in the past year. There was a report that just came out like yesterday that said for local businesses, the importance of reviews has skyrocketed and has become the most important factor in local SEO ranking factors. So, but it is important for every business, whether you're local or not. And then the cool thing about SEO is that or reviews is that the more reviews you get, the more people you reach. It's not just getting testimonials and they just live out on the internet and no one ever sees them. If you're choosing the right platform, the more reviews you get, the more people who are going to see it. So let's talk about some tips and tricks for review generation. First thing, you want to pick the right platform. It's very easy to just want to pick any platform and get any review you can get, but this is where growth marketing comes in. Be very intentional about where your time and your energy is going. So I recommend just picking one platform, let that be like your flagship platform for reviews, and try to generate reviews on that platform only for a couple of months. For example, if you're a local business, Google reviews is king. Focus on your Google My Business listing. Do not focus on Facebook or Yelp or anything like that. If you get reviews there, cool, that's awesome. But don't spend your time generating them because nothing is going to help your SEO and help you reach more people than Google reviews. If you are a software provider, for example, I recommend you look at a platform like G2 or Capterra. Those are platforms that are specifically for people looking for software. So find the platform where people are most likely going to be looking for exactly what you're offering. Easy way to do this is just to search. Let's say you are creating a project management software. Search project management software reviews on Google, see what platform pops up first, do a quick evaluation, and maybe consider focusing on that one first. You also want to pick the right customers. This is one of the most common mistakes I see here. People set up some sort of automation and they just blast out an email to everyone who they've ever worked with or ever talked to or ever bought their product, and then they end up getting negative reviews. You want to, look, it's okay to have some negative reviews, just for the record, it's totally okay. It actually helps a little bit. Studies show that people will find you a little more legitimate if you have a mix of reviews. But let's not spend our time generating negative reviews. Let's focus on the positive ones. Segment your audience data the best you can, or even just focus on, 5 customers at first, 5 people who have been really happy over the past year with you, and ask them just to share a few sentences. This is a tip, meet them where they're at. This is a tip that I've really learned in the past year in working with clients where reviews play a huge role in their success. You want to meet people where they're at because reviews have become so important in the past year that everybody is just getting totally bombarded with requests to write reviews. I'm sure all of you have gotten at least 1 or 2 requests in the past year yourself. So improve your chances of getting a great review by making it convenient for them. I like to think of this as if, you're asking them for a favor. So think about if somebody were to ask you for a favor and then they made it really, really hard for you to actually do that favor. It's one of my pet peeves. It's probably one of the most annoying things in the world. So just make it easy for people when you're communicating with your clients or your customers. Ask them how they prefer to be communicated with. As a business owner, we're in the business of serving other people. That's why we started businesses. So let's make it easy for them. Let's make it convenient. Ask them if they prefer to be emailed or called or texted or DM'd on Instagram. And then whatever they say, meet them where they're at and ask them for the review that way. And then the last thing here, also another very, very common mistake, you need to respond to every single review, whether it's good or bad. Now, when it's a bad review, and don't use just like templated responses, like people are doing you a favor and taking the time out of their day to say something about their experience with you. Respond appropriately. So when it's a negative review, it's okay. So you want to respond thinking about the fact that your response is going to mean more to the people who are going to use your reviews for validation than the person who actually left the review. Although you want to take care of them too, you want to think about how your review is going to be perceived to somebody who has no knowledge of the situation. So don't be defensive, don't be rude, don't be judgmental, don't be short, respond empathetically. And how do we make it growth marketing? I'm sure you're noticing a pattern here. First thing, you're going to measure it. This is bringing back that performance marketing aspect to it. So every platform has some sort of metric available. The easiest one to measure is impressions for your profile or hits to your profile. Pretty much every platform is going to give you this number, including Google My Business and G2 and all that kind of stuff. So are your impressions increasing with the more reviews you get? If not, maybe consider another platform. It's okay to abandon ship if something's not working. So minimum viable product, try it out. If it's not working, try something else. Pivot as you need to. And as business owners, we are pivot masters. So I'm sure that's not news to you. The next thing is to scale it. Efficiency is key. Review generation will suck up so much of your time if you let it. So be careful with it. Start off with either a very, very small group of people that you're going to send an email to or call or text or whatever. And then if you have a huge group of people, consider automation first. And a tool like HubSpot or something automated like MailChimp can help you do this. So don't invest in a review generation platform yet. Please do not do it. They're expensive as heck, and they're not worth it in my opinion most of the time unless you're doing it on like a really, really, really large scale. There are some tools out there that are great like Podium and Grade.us. So if you are working with a really large group of people, it may be worth considering it because the automation may save you the amount of time that it would make up for in what your time costs. But if not, just start small. If you're using something like HubSpot, use the sequencing tool. There are even plugins you can plug into your Gmail that you can do automated sequencing with, where if somebody responds, it takes them out of the automation. So look into some tools like that. And then the last thing, you want to develop a marketing strategy for your marketing strategy. A lot of people will generate reviews and just think it's great, and then they leave it at that. But growth marketing is about taking it a step further and taking advantage of every single thing that you're doing and working smarter, right? So let's think of ways we can share those reviews. Reviews are great validation. So let's put them into a really pretty Canva template and a nice pretty graphic on Canva. And Canva is what I made this presentation with, by the way. Canva is a fantastic tool. It's only like $13 a month. Again, I don't get anything from it. I just think it's amazing. Put it into a template, share it on social media, email it out to your customers, put it on your website. If you have reviews, you should have, no exception, you should have on your homepage a section dedicated to testimonials. And that's about it for reviews. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
What would you recommend as the best platform for coaches and coaching?
Ooh, that's a good question. So coaching is a little different because coaching is such a personal thing. Now, if you were like an e-commerce store or something, I'd say automate the heck out of it. But as a coach, and I assume you mean business or life coach or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I would make it as personal as possible. So I would maybe start with 3 to 5 people a month and reach out to them personally. And that's where your efficiency is, just focusing on a few at a time.
Okay, great. And as far as a platform, that's what I'm struggling with.
You can just email
Facebook,
it.
Instagram.
You mean where to share the reviews? Sorry, I didn't get that. Where are you getting the most engagement right now?
I don't know if it's kind of a combination between Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Well, I would look at some of the metrics first. So growth marketing is all about using data, right? So what I would do is look at those 3 platforms that you just mentioned, take a look at the number of followers you have, your average engagement rate. You can do that by just adding up the number of likes and comments you've gotten on like your past 5 to 10 posts, and then divide it by the number of posts that you are looking at and see what that percentage is. Whatever you are getting the most engagement on and the highest number of followers should probably be where you start.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Great question. All right, next strategy, referrals. So I'm going to preface this by saying A referral program is probably the most labor-heavy task or strategy that we're going to talk about here, but it is one of the most lucrative. So if you have a little more time on your hands and you want to work on something that's going to bring in a little more, I would consider this one. But just be wary. There's a little more work involved than these other strategies. So maybe not something you can implement today, but maybe something you can implement like next week. So a referral program is exactly what you're thinking. It's when you empower somebody to refer a friend to your business. You are probably a part of a couple of referral programs. I'm a part of a ton of them. I'm a huge fan of referral programs, but they're kind of tricky. So there are a lot of referral platforms out there. I don't use any right now, so I can't really give you any great recommendations there. And it's truly dependent upon what industry you're in and what kind of business model you have. But one of the greatest things about referrals is that you're going to get validation. So again, people are more likely to trust the recommendation of a friend over the marketing of your own marketing or advertising. So let's let your advocates speak for you and market for you. The second thing here is that it's cheaper. It is almost always cheaper to get the referral from a friend than to acquire a new customer through your own traditional marketing channels. This is very important to remember, because although it may take a little longer to get this program set up, once it's set up, it's pretty much automated and you don't have to do a ton of work to keep it going. So although your setup cost or your setup time is going to be pretty significant compared to just running a giveaway on Facebook or something like that, you're going to reap the benefits for longer. So you want to think about this third thing, which is longevity. So this is a program that's going to last a really long time, and you can do a lot of stuff with it, especially promotions around holidays and things like that. But the coolest thing about this is that customers who are referred by a friend have a 37% higher retention rate, which is just nuts. Your retention rate is something you should be paying attention to no matter what type of business that you have, whether you're working with big corporations or you're selling one product at a time on your website. This is very, very important. Your retention rate you should think about it in terms of a dollar sign. The longer you can get people to stick around, or the longer you can get them loyal or engaged with your brand, the more money you're going to get out of them in particular, but the more money you're going to get out of their entire network. So when you acquire a customer or a client, consider the fact that you're actually acquiring their entire network if you try hard enough. So what are the makings of a great referral program? The first thing is the right incentive. This is the most important question you should be asking yourself. What can you offer them that they're actually going to be willing and to take the time out of their day to refer a friend so they can benefit from it? One of the most common mistakes I see is that people will launch referral programs with really small discounts or virtually no benefit at all. And then they're like, I don't know why it's not working. People want to do something that they're going to get something out of themselves. We like to think that our greatest customers will refer friends for us, and they will, but that's a really small percentage of people. So what can you offer them that and pay attention to the numbers here. So if you're going to offer them $10 and you know that if you get one of their friends that your lifetime value of that customer is like $300, that's a great margin. But if you're offering them $100 and the lifetime value of that friend they're referring is only $100, you're wasting your time. So pay attention to the numbers there. That's going back to that growth marketing, and we'll talk about this again in a second, but numbers mean everything. The second thing here is to pick the right customers. Very similar to reviews. If you're asking an unhappy customer for a referral, you're probably going to be pretty sorry about that, because they're going to write a negative review, or you're going to lose that customer entirely and you're not going to get them back. So segment your audience data in whatever way you can. If you're working with just a really small group of clients, that's where like the customer experience becomes so highly important. ask your clients or your customers for feedback regularly so you can actually segment your data. It's hard to segment data when you don't have it. The third thing here is the right messaging. This is where this becomes a little labor heavy because you want to have like controlled variables as you're testing your different messaging. Start with one messaging for a group of people. If you have 100 customers, start with 25 and try out a certain subject line, a CTA, or call to action, or whatever, in whatever format you want to do this, and see what results you get. Go to customer group B with 25 more people and try it with some different messaging and see what results you get, and then compare. And then you can make an educated decision moving forward. If you're doing this in email, even if you're using something like MailChimp or HubSpot or ActiveCampaign or whatever, you're going to be able to see what people click on too. So use those metrics to help you make a decision where maybe you're going to combine those two messages and have a super message that's really effective. The fourth thing here is the right timing. This is probably the thing that varies most by industry. This is most applicable to, I would say, e-commerce or really startups with a larger customer base. So a great multifaceted referral program is going to capitalize on different opportunities to capture referrals. So let's say you're selling hats on a website. So I'm sorry if you hear a train too. If you missed the intro, I live right by a train in East Nashville, and we're working from home. So let's say you're selling hats on a website. So you're selling hats and somebody makes a purchase, and then you can have a pop-up on your website that prompts people to share a referral code like, hey, you just made a purchase, that's great. Get your next hat half off by sharing this referral code with a friend. You can also send them an email maybe 3 days after their hat is delivered. So you want to capitalize on times when you think they're going to be the happiest because they're going to be the most likely to refer a friend. Same thing here. I'm sure this is not surprising to you. You want to measure it. Measure those controlled variables. Go slow. You don't need to measure a zillion things at first. Don't get analysis paralysis. As an analytics-based marketer, I have analysis paralysis like twice a week, and it sucks. So start with just a few metrics here and there. Test 1 or 2 things at a time. Make a spreadsheet with it so you can track it. Watch a couple webinars. MailChimp has some great ones. So does ActiveCampaign. So does HubSpot. And try to learn from what other people are doing. And use that data to make educated decisions. Don't take a guess. Don't use a hunch, which a lot of us as marketers do all the time. Try to just focus on the data as much as possible at first. Efficiency here is key. Referral generation can also just totally suck up your time if you're not careful. So utilize automated software when you can, but those programs can be kind of expensive. So until then, utilize something like Zapier to connect your marketing tech stack as you need to. And again, I don't really have any great recommendations for referral platforms at this moment, but I haven't used one in about a year or two. But if any of you need some recommendations, I can follow up with you after and see what some of my colleagues are using. And the last thing here, you need, again, a marketing plan to market your marketing plan. How are you going to introduce your referral program? How is that going to vary from different segments of customers? How are you going to spread the word? Is it worth it to just share it on social and see if maybe people are incentivized to become a customer because you have a great referral program? There are endless possibilities. Any questions? Okay. Number 4, SEO. SEO is one of my favorite things in the world. So we can get pretty in depth with this if you guys want to, but SEO is so important, and I'm not kidding when I say it is one of the most overlooked things in startup marketing. But here's why it's awesome, because SEO will last for so long. There's longevity with it. There's a solid SEO foundation will serve you even when all of your other marketing has to stop. You can put, if you have $100,000 running in ads every year, even $20 running in ads this week or something, you can pull that money and you're going to lose everything from that ad because your ad's not going to be shown to anyone anymore. But when you have SEO, Google does not give a lick about your ad budget. Google doesn't care. SEO is more of like a good faith marketing where it's all about just who's doing it right and who's doing it the best. There's no bidding, anything like that. Your competitor can have, your top competitor, your biggest competitor may have millions in ad dollars and you have nothing. You can beat them with SEO. There's also intentional traffic that comes from this. This is really important. Now, when you're running a Facebook ad or a Facebook giveaway even, you're just spraying that out to anyone who will listen, right? You can target your ad to certain demographics and whatever, but you can't really control exactly that you're going to be showing it to somebody who actually needs it at that time. When it comes to SEO, you can target keywords that are intentional. So let's say you're a lawyer. I work with a lot of lawyers. So let's say you're a personal injury law firm. Somebody searching the term car accident lawyer, you're not searching that unless you really need one or unless you have a friend who needs one. Like 1% of people or less are curious about car accident lawyers. So people searching that have intent. So you want to think about who has intent and then optimize, and we're going to talk about this, optimize your website and your marketing for those keywords. So when people are Googling, they find you and they find what they need through your website. An SEO foundation. SEO is very complex. SEO we could talk about for an entire week really and still only scratch the surface. But here are the 4 things that I would recommend focusing on just to kind of bring you up to speed, build a solid foundation, and start giving yourself a competitive edge. The first thing here is on-site optimization. And that means optimizing your website. So when Google is crawling it, and that means Google's going to take a look at your website periodically and decide how to filter you into search results, if they will at all. Your website should be telling Google the right story. So you want to do some keyword research. I recommend using Moz or SEMrush. Moz has a really great free trial and has some really amazing courses. SEMrush does too, but it's a little more expensive. And I don't think they have a free trial. They might. But Moz is kind of like the holy grail when it comes to SEO, especially for small businesses. So utilize Moz's tools. If you're unsure of where to start, take a look at some of their courses and it'll guide you right through it. They even have some resources on their blogs, like step-by-step plans that can help you. You also want to make sure your website is loading super fast. Aside from just providing a really great user experience, Google is not going to rank a website that's not loading fast. Google's #1 goal is to provide the most amazing user experience possible, because if we didn't find what we were looking for when we Googled, we're going to stop using Google. So Google's entire thing is if we stop using it, they have no power. And right now they have all the power in the world. So Google rules our entire lives, if you didn't know. So focus on lightning fast loading speeds. If you don't know how to check this, just Google site speed checker. You can just plug your domain in there. If it's coming up as slow, talk to one of your developer friends. I'm sure Zap can connect you to somebody at the EC who can help you with this. I have a fantastic developer that I love to work with too, helps me with all my websites. And there are some even simple things you can do, like image compression, that can help bring that speed up to speed a little bit. The next thing here are citations, which are online profiles, and NAP. So the word NAP means name, address, and phone number. This is kind of an old school tactic, but it's still really important. It's one of those things where you just kind of have to do it. So your business should be listed in relevant online directories. It's like free marketing. It's free to add that in there. It gives you some good SEO juice. It's not going to be a game changer, but it is going to help. And your NAP, your name, address, and phone number, should be consistent on your website and on all of your online properties. It's a little thing you can do to just help your SEO just a little bit. Number 3, backlinks. If you've never heard of a backlink, this is when you have a link to your website listed on somebody else's website. So again, this is kind of that cool by association thing. So that's that other website telling Google, hey, I'm going to vouch for this website. They know what they're talking about. They're great. I would send traffic to them. And Google sees that and they're like, heck yeah, I love that. We're going to put it in Google search results. So you want to build out links that are relevant. So relevance means Google cares about relevance and authority. Relevance is going to be dependent upon your location. If you're a global business, don't really got to worry about that as much. But if you're a local business, you want to be building links within your community. And then authoritative. This is basically Google gives every website a score. Moz created a score because Google's not going to tell you what your score is because Google doesn't tell us anything. But you can look at Moz. It's M-O-Z. That's their website, moz.com. Moz has something called a domain authority. And this is a score that Moz actually created. A lot of people think Google created it, but Moz did years and years ago to make up for the score that Google used to tell us and then took away from us because we got too smart with it. So you can check your domain authority on that website. It's on a scale of 0 to 100. Don't be worried if your score is like a 10 or 20. Look at your competitors and see what their score is and then use that as a benchmark for yourself. When you're building links, you want to build links on websites that have a score that's higher than yours, even if just by a few points. For content is important. Content is king. It has been for years and it's not going to stop. There's a reason why you do what you do. You are an expert, you're passionate. You started your business for a reason. Starting a business is really, really hard. It's treacherous and we don't do it just for fun. We do it because it's our calling, right? So write content about it, share it with other people. People want to hear your story. People want to hear what you have to say. And bonus points, it's going to help your SEO if you put it on your blog and your website. Now, growth marketing. Number one, I'm sure you can even say it with me, measure it. You want to track your analytics, okay? The first thing you want to track is your organic traffic sources. So use Google Analytics on your website. It's free to set up. If you don't have it set up, let me know and I can send you some instructions. It's super easy. I'm sure if you have a developer friend, they can help you with that too. I'm sure they've set up millions of them. Google Analytics also has free certification courses. If I encourage you to take any certification course besides Moz and their courses, I recommend Google Analytics because the knowledge that you can get from looking at your analytics, your website analytics, it's going to give you so much power. It's going to change the way you see your marketing, and it's going to help you make decisions about what works and what doesn't. The other thing is search impressions and clicks. So working on SEO is to get your website to appear in search results. So how do you know if you're appearing in search results? Lots of different tools you can use to see if you're ranking for certain keywords, if you're showing up. But you can also use Google Search Console, which your developer friend can also help you set up. It's very easy. You can set it up in 5 minutes or less. Your Search Console is going to be able to tell you how many impressions you're getting in search results in total. So the number will probably shock you. It will vary because Google is pretty volatile, so search rankings change all the time, but you can measure your impressions and your clicks from Search Console, and that's going to help be another indicator that you're on the right track. You also want to make sure you're tracking your lead sources. So Google Analytics can help you figure out where your leads are coming from. If you are interested in Google Analytics, I recommend you write this down. Figure out how to set up goals in Google Analytics. You can set up a goal like a form completion or clicking on a certain button, and that can help you figure out, oh, people that come from search results click on the button 37% more of the time than people that come from Facebook. And that's going to help you figure out exactly where to push your marketing efforts towards. Now, you also want to compare that, this is where it gets a little trickier, against your cost per acquisition and your lifetime customer value. So your cost per acquisition is how many dollars it takes to get that customer into your funnel and have them make a purchase or sign a contract. And your lifetime value is, there's a formula for this if you Google it. The lifetime value is how much money you think that you're going to be able to get from this person throughout their entire life cycle of being a customer with you. Now, you want to compare this because it's not always quantity versus over quality It's actually quality over quantity. Because if you're getting 1,000 customers from Facebook, but it's costing you $20 per customer, but their lifetime value is $80, let's say, but you're getting 500 customers from Instagram, and even though it's a little more expensive to get them, their lifetime value is actually $100. You want to spend more of your time focusing on Instagram. So that's where it's really important to look at all of those different types of metrics, and that's going to help you understand where to focus your efforts. And that's where growth marketing comes in, because you're not going to be spinning your wheels and spending a ton of money when you have an avenue that's more affordable. And the last thing here is to scale it. Use those numbers to make an educated decision and go from there and expand upon it. And I'm going to save questions until the end. We're going to go on to the next one since we're almost out of time. This one's really quick, but this one is very close to my heart. This last strategy is community. This is one of my favorite strategies. This is the type of marketing where it doesn't feel like work. It's so much fun. Build a community around your brand. This can work for any industry. I even did this with a cybersecurity agency. So trust me, it can work anywhere. You want to build a community, and that's all about branding. What does your brand represent? I'll give you kind of an odd example. There's a company called Moon Juice. Look them up on Instagram or on their website. It's this company that sells these kind of hippie elixirs and balms and moisturizers and stuff like that. It's a little witchy. It's cool. Their branding is really cool. But they've grown so fast because they're selling a lifestyle. They're not selling a product. They're selling people who like to do new moon rituals and read their horoscopes, and people like that band together. So these people they've built a community around what their audience loves, and then they just figure out how to work their product into the lifestyle. And so this is where community can come in handy. So it's going to add brand equity. It's going to add clout to your brand's reputation, and that's going to reduce the barrier of entry for new customers. When new customers feel like they can easily join the party, they're going to be more likely to make a purchase or sign a contract. Loyalty. Obviously, loyalty is really important. We've already talked about customer retention, but it's also going to give you more reach. So the cooler your party is, the more people are going to want to join. A couple of different ideas, and we'll go through these quickly. There are social media giveaways you can do. A good example of this would be October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. If you are a brand that has women as customers at all, you should be doing something for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You could do a Facebook giveaway and have people share stories, do a landing page on your website, drive traffic to your website. That's going to help your SEO too. And get people on your website. You could maybe retarget them later. But drive them to your website, have them tell a story about someone who's been touched by breast cancer and what that means to them. And then you can share their stories on social media throughout the month of October. And although that's not promoting your product, it's promoting a cause that the women in your audience are going to care about and have an emotional connection to. And it's going to help you just build some equity with your audience. Brand ambassadors, I love this strategy. Again, this works for I know the word ambassador sounds a little Instagram-y, but it truly does work for any industry. Again, I did that with a cybersecurity agency, so it works. You can pick somebody who is maybe your most enthusiastic or has the biggest digital influence, even if that's on LinkedIn, and set them up as brand ambassadors. Incentivize them to sell for you and make recommendations to your friends. So it's kind of like a referral program, but a little more concentrated just on a key group of people. Brand activations, create experiences for your customers and future customers. Like, let them get to know you in an interesting way. I worked with a startup called Zomato in Dallas a couple years ago. We were kind of like Yelp, but just for restaurants. We're an iPhone app. So we worked in food, right? So we partnered with a great Texas food truck rally. I think that was the name of it. Hundreds of people came to listen to bands and just eat food from food trucks. We showed up. We brought 1,000 koozies with us that had our brand on it. We knew people would be walking around. It's Texas, really hot. We knew people would be walking around with beers and sodas all night. So we just gave anybody holding a koozie as we walked by them. And people loved it. By the end of the night, it looked like it was our event because every single person had a koozie. And then the cooler thing about that is that every single person who was taking a picture and sharing it on Instagram or Snapchat had our brand in it. So automatic brand awareness. And it just built a community. So people associated our brand with the fun time that they had at that rally. And the last thing here, we just talked about this, narratives. Tell a story. It's one of the most overlooked things in marketing because people just try to sell and sell and sell, but they forget that we're human. We're marketing to other humans. Pay attention to what humans care about. If you imagine you're part of your key demographic, what do you really care about? Tell that story and let your community tell their story too. You can build that community around those shared experiences. And then lastly, same thing, pick those metrics to figure out how to make it measurable, that you're going to be able to determine if it's a success or not. Track it, have those UTM parameters or an LMS system in place where you can track the sources of your leads and the value of them, and then scale it based on what you track and measure, pinpoint which tactics are working the best, and then go from there. And that's it, you guys. We've got 1 minute to spare. Thank you for sticking with me. Can I answer any questions before we go?
This is Cheryl. I have a real quick question.
Sure.
You mentioned that it's important to have the name, I think, address, and phone number. I'm a SaaS platform, and most of the platforms, I don't see anybody use a telephone number. I can barely reach anybody for questions. It's typically, send me an email, like a form on a website.
So to me, that's all the more reason to have a phone number. Don't you think? If that's annoying to you, solve that problem for other people. Customer experience is everything, but from an SEO perspective, still important to have a phone number, but I would focus most on your name. Make sure it's spelled and formatted exactly the same across every single platform. But if other people aren't using phone numbers, throw your phone number out there. I do a lot of PR, and what I have found working with reporters is that years ago, nobody answered their phone because there were just calls all day long. And now every reporter I call answers their phone because nobody's calling them anymore.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, great question. Anybody else?
Hi, Alyssa. Thanks a lot. This has been really fun, a lot of really fantastic stuff. Kind of like in that same notion of what you were just talking about, like, people don't have phone numbers, maybe you should have one to be different. I'm always really interested in kind of things like that, where you can enter a space where you're not necessarily competing because it's been, overlooked. Like, for example, something I was working with a few years ago, we weren't able to compete with our competitors on, Google search words or AdWords. So we focused a lot of our budget on Bing. And since we were trying to reach, employees like at companies, we figured that, the hypothesis was the majority of people using Bing are using it because their work laptop has it preloaded on their Windows desktop. So that was kind of an interesting way for us to compete in a different space, or not compete by going to a different marketplace. What are some other interesting things that you see now, kind of in the content marketing and the direct market? What are some opportunities like that where you can kind of go where others aren't?
Fantastic question. And you're definitely on the right track. From my experience, I'll talk specifically about like PPC and AdWords and stuff like that. If that's not working for you, the answer isn't always to just go to another paid search platform, although that's not a wrong thing to do. So that was a good tactic to try. SEO is like the free version of AdWords. It takes longer, it's going to be slower, but it's a snowball, so it's going to build, and you have to assume that your competitors, the more money they're spending on AdWords, the less time they're spending on SEO. And so that's going to give you that competitive edge. And when it comes to content marketing, for those of you who know Clark Buckner, who has been one of my greatest friends for years now, we used to work together at a company called Technology Advice years ago. Clark and I ran this strategy that I've actually used with several clients over the past few years, where we took advantage of like the B2B version of influencer marketing. So Clark and I were working with different software programs, project management, CRM, even EMRs, whatever. So we would go to those platforms and ask to interview one of their employees, like their director of marketing or something like that, and then do a podcast with it, do the transcription, share it with them. They got to put it on their blog. We got a backlink from it. We got to tap into their audience from it, and lots of benefits from there. And we just got to build a really great relationship with huge software companies. I'm running a similar tactic like that right now for one of my clients who is my new client who is a mobile locker company. They take lockers to different events. They're very cool. They have partnerships with like the Patriots and the Atlanta Braves. It's kind of crazy. So we're actually trying to expand different parts of their business with different event planners in those cities that they have those huge partnerships in already. So we're going to be reaching out to like 100 different people within that target city and just asking them to do an email interview. And then we're going to share that content on the blog and via LinkedIn and try to do some of those like conversation starters that you probably see on LinkedIn a lot. I love a content marketing strategy that gets your audience involved in it, especially when you get to interview somebody who has influence in that space, because one, people love to talk about themselves, so you're just going to have a great time in general. You're going to build a great relationship with them, but you're also going to get to tap into their audience because they're absolutely going to share an interview that they're proud of. Does that help?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, just always, I'm always keeping my eyes open for kind of new opportunities and ways to compete by not competing.
Sure. I'll share one more tactic too. This is something we're kicking off with the agency I work with. We're having one of our clients do an AMA on Facebook Live, and we're going to kind of stack the deck with the questions of the most Googled questions for that industry. And then we're going to take that AMA, like 30 minutes, and break it up into little bite-sized videos, and then put that on our website. And we're going to include a transcription with it because videos are showing up in search right now like crazy. So you can have those videos on your Facebook or on your website, and it's going to help your SEO.
Interesting.
Yeah, any other questions?
There was some in the chat. I'm not sure if folks want to speak up or anything, or if I missed something.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, great presentation. I had put on the comments, I guess I can sort of ask it in a question. I'm a web developer, and a lot of times that I find that my clients or the competitors of my clients, their SEOs usually is about 90% of the time missing a file called JSON LD.
Okay.
And what this is it's a data file that Google checks for to get directly the information that it's looking for, such as business hours, phone number, address, because otherwise if the website doesn't have that file, Google has to do text analysis on your website and try to infer what those things are to add that to the ranking. So could you speak on that? Like, do you work with JSON LD often, or do you find that that's missing in your work?
I personally don't. I have a developer like you who does that for me. I'm not a developer. As far as that goes, I can't speak to it too much simply just because I'm not a developer, but that is a really great tip. A tip I can share with you guys that I use that may be helpful for some of y'all who aren't developers too. I use SEMrush to run a site audit once a month on all of the like 40 websites that I manage and that I oversee. And that picks up a lot of things like that, especially when there are things blocking from Google from crawling it and things like that. So that may be something that SEMrush picks up on too. But Erin, thank you for sharing. That's a really great tip. Anybody else? Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I know we're a few minutes over, but I appreciate y'all sticking with me. And Zap's going to send you guys my info, but here it is too. My email, my phone number. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm also an advisor, so we could always meet through the EC too. I look forward to hearing from some of you guys.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. And yep, I'll send an email hopefully this afternoon or tomorrow morning with slide deck, video, and Alyssa's contact. So look out for it.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone. Thank you,
Thanks,
Alyssa.
everybody.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you, Alyssa.
the
See you
great
guys.
content.